Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I am I'm joined by my co-host Dobie. Now, do you have any sort of things that have happened to you during the week, or some things you'd like to sort of tip the podcast off
during the week? Yep. A few things did happen. Obviously, the both of us, we come here, heads in our hands, hearts ripped out. The city of Los Angeles has died.
Yeah, this podcast is no longer viable in terms of its name. Anyway, to be honest, did I have any expectation that the Clippers were going to do anything? No. I think around the 10-game mark of this season, I said the Clippers aren't doing anything this season. Lo and behold, Kawhi gets injured just in time for the playoffs. And
Mate, I remember a couple episodes ago when he was out for the last few games of the regular season. I was like, "Are we sure he's coming back?" You're like, "Yeah, it's nothing. It's just a little
that's what was
few
said.
Game thing."
That's what was said. And look, to be fair, he did come back, but he clearly wasn't ready to come back. So yeah, I was least shocked as possible. I don't even think I've watched a singular game in this series. There's a 0 point to watch the Clippers at the moment. They're just absolutely gone. There's no chance that we win anything. So yeah, it's one of them. No expectation. I don't know if you had any expectation of beating Denver. You shouldn't have, but yeah.
Well, I obviously had a hope, but and the annoying thing is the series is actually very close. We just lost every game essentially, but there was a stat that said we had led the games for like 80% of the time, and then Denver just led for 20%, which was the last 20% of each game pretty much. So, very disappointing. Obviously, Darvin Ham has been sacked. Great decision. I mean, I do think the players obviously are slightly to blame. The roster isn't the best roster, but I mean, the rotations he was putting out there in the fourth quarter of like a win-or-go-home game, he's putting Jackson Hayes, Gabe Vincent, and Spencer Dinwiddie on the floor for extended minutes in a fourth quarter of a win-or-go-home game. I mean, like, look, you throw rotations out the window in those sorts of games, and you play your 5 best players. There's no resting in that situation. And the refusal to call a timeout. I mean, we had a 10-point lead. He waits until we're down 10 to call the timeout. Like, as soon as they score 2 buckets in a row, call the fucking timeout, dude.
Look, fair play. I mean, Darvin Ham, well, he's fired now, so
yeah.
He's gone. Have you got any sort of head coach candidates that you're eyeing up or you think that would be good fits?
Well, there's no one really available, to be honest, but...
Well, Ty Lue has been rumoured.
We could just do a swap.
Please. Oh, no, not a swap. Just take Ty Lue.
Well, we did also fire our entire assistant coaching staff, apparently, as well.
Oh, so what about the shooting coach, geezer? You know, the old guy that's been there forever?
I don't know about him.
The one, yeah. The one I heard he got fired as well. That's
Phil Handy?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, he got fired. Which
Why?
everyone's saying, yeah, he was a good coach. But, yeah, I don't know why. In terms of replacements, who is out there? I mean, Mark Jackson's always thrown up when there's a free coaching role.
But that's just Doc Rivers, isn't it? It's not as bad as Doc Rivers, but it's just like an old head that...
Yeah, I guess JJ Redick is being... Although I wouldn't want to say that, but he's...
It's a bit bizarre, though. He looks younger than, like, all the... Isn't he younger than...
He's younger than... Yeah, and he does a podcast with him now, so it's probably a conflict of interest. But everyone's saying his name as sort of the next guy to do it because of all his fucking good takes on ESPN, etc. But...
Makes you a qualified coach.
Yeah. But, I probably wouldn't want to see a rookie coach coaching us, to be honest.
That's never coached anything in his life.
No. I don't even know who is available. Could we, like, is Mike D'Antoni, is that an option? Someone like that?
No. God, no. That'd be horrendous. I agree. I think there are sort of limited options out there at the moment. Look, situations may change. Obviously, it's not the off-season yet, so we'll get a lot more coaching movements towards that sort of date. But, yeah, maybe, I don't know if Nick Nurse keeps his job. If that's maybe an option, or there's multiple different sort of options that are out there that could be sort of tested. But yeah, a former player route I wouldn't be too keen on if I was a Lakers fan. Now, as a Clippers fan, I think we should get rid of Ty Lue, and that's just. And look, he is especially by guys like Kendrick Perkins, think he's the next best.
Yeah.
He's the best coach in the
Well,
league.
if you get rid of him, we'll sign him for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I'll tell you, he's not the worst coach in the world. Like, you can do worse. However, nothing in his coaching repertoire involves tactics. Nothing. He has zero tactics to any sort of part of his coaching. Now, with guys like LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin Love, that can work. And his primary coaching philosophy is based on matchups. He's based on, look, especially with this team, I mean, it should have worked, but it was more injuries that maybe made it fail. But with this team, he was like, look, we've got Kawhi, PG, Harden, Westbrook. I'm going to target mismatch and target sort of matchups rather than create a coaching sort of philosophy or tactics just to aid those players. Rather than that, I'll give them the ball and get the hell out of the way. That's kind of what his philosophy is, and I don't necessarily agree with it. And I think it's proven sometimes we've overperformed, sometimes we haven't. And I think his coaching philosophy in general has made us lose key playoff games and key playoff series. So I would personally get rid of him. I think it's time for him to go. I think Paul George could be on the move. That's a name that's been thrown around to Philly and different places. So I think it's time to probably bring a fresh voice in and maybe a guy that's more into tactics, more into sort of aiding his players rather than just relying on their talents in comparison to the opposition. And you saw it this year. I mean, I don't think we had more than 5 wins against really good teams. I can't remember. Now that may be just me being sort of short-sighted, but I can't remember a team that we beat during the regular season that we shouldn't have beat. I think we dominated teams that we should have beaten, but the teams that we were maybe equal to or slightly less talented, we got beat, and sometimes we got dominated. So in this series, it was evident, especially talent-wise, when Kawhi's out, the Mavericks are one of the most talented teams in the NBA and probably better than us from a talent perspective when Kawhi's out. So it's a case of we were never going to win this series when Kawhi Leonard went out, because talent-wise, we just couldn't be able to match the Mavericks, and that was sort of the story of the season, I felt. Yes, we had ups and downs, but I think it was mainly based on schedule. I think when we had an easier schedule, we played well, and then when we had tough parts of the schedule, we didn't. So, yeah, I think it's time to move on. I don't think he's done a bad job at the Clippers per se, but he hasn't done what he was brought in to do, and that's why he's got to go. Yeah,
I think so. Changes on the cards. I will say, though, unlucky draws for both the Clippers and the Lakers in terms of opponents.
Well, yeah, the two toughest teams.
Yeah, would I be surprised if Denver go and sweep Minnesota and Dallas go and sweep OKC?
No,
I wouldn't. But it's the way the cookie crumbles, I guess. The way it crumbles.
But in terms of that, would you be happy with Ty Lue being your head coach for next season?
I think he's better than Darvin Ham, and obviously he's won a championship with LeBron. But yeah, so I wouldn't be mad at it.
You wouldn't be mad,
but I wouldn't be like, "Oh my god, this is amazing."
Okay.
It's not like we're signing Greg Popovich or Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah,
but I'll take it.
Look, fair play. Another storyline that I like to sort of harp on about the playoffs: Anthony Edwards, his dominance. Now, look, we haven't really talked about teams like the Thunder and the Timberwolves because they dominated their first round matchups and really have been resting for about 2 weeks. But yeah. Anthony Edwards, I feel like it was his coming out party against the Suns. He was unreal. Unbelievable. It's like watching... I know people compare him to Jordan, but it was like... Well, yeah, I felt like I was watching... even though I never watched Jordan live, I felt like I was watching Jordan live.
Yeah, everyone's saying it was Jordan, Kobe, and now Edwards. In terms of that mentality or that killer sort of play style.
Yeah, well, I think he's the next great American player. And I think that's sort of been harped on about throughout the media over the past couple of weeks. But I think he's definitely the future of American basketball. And that's an indictment against American basketball, saying that the Europeans have sort of taken the game over. But in terms of the top level talent, at least. But no, I think Anthony Edwards against the Suns really sort of, especially in the fourth quarters, was just absolutely dominant. and was chatting shit and backed it up. And that's what you like to see. And he brings a mentality that you like to see as a basketball fan. You don't like to see players, shaking hands after. Well, you want a bit of sportsmanship, but just being nicey and buddy with each other, and after the game and during the game, you don't like to see that. And look, maybe LeBron's partly to blame for that. I won't blame him directly, but he's part of that sort of new wave of like all the superstars being friends.
Yeah. However,
Anthony Edwards comes in and says, talking about load management, he's like, I find it disrespectful to take games off. I don't want to do that. And I think that sort of mentality that he's brought has been really refreshing, and that's why a lot of people like him.
Yeah, everyone's on the Ant bandwagon at the moment. I will say, I'm pretty sure I was one of the first guys on it about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I was saying he had
not like
the
he was a
potential.
number one pick or anything.
No, but he wasn't amazing his rookie year. Like he was good, but he wasn't showing this sort of potential. And I think I said back then that he could be the best player in the league. I've just seen it, and I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. But the way Devin Booker this year is the Ja Morant said last year we're fine in the West. Devin Booker this year said nobody can guard us.
Bradley Beal said he's never been swept.
Bradley Beal, I think his career ended there on that last play where Ant cross him up and then dunked on someone.
Yeah,
he ripped Bradley Beal and then went down the other end and dunked it or something. He was awful, Bradley Beal, and they've got to pay him $150 million over the next 3 years.
Did you see the owner's comments? Or was it the owner or the general manager's comments after they lost?
Oh, I saw that he was positive about the situation.
But he essentially said that 26 teams in the NBA would trade their entire team for the Suns' entire team. And I sat there and said, no, they wouldn't. There is about probably 11 to 12 teams I think would genuinely trade their entire team for the Suns team. And that's being kind of nice. Even though, yes, on paper, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, 3 really talented guys. But everyone and their mother knew that this would not work in terms of chemistry and play styles mashing together. No, you've got no other depth. You've got Nurkic, who's known as a offensive center who doesn't defend well. It was a disaster from the moment it got set up, and everyone saw it, apart from the Suns apparently. And I think it's just a case. I think a new owner came in. He wanted to make a splash. He wanted to win a championship. Didn't want to do the rebuild process, and it sort of went sideways.
Yeah. Did you see? This is just remind me of. Do you see? RDC World?
No.
He does like the skits of how LeBron was.
Oh,
in the locker room.
Yes, I do know.
Yeah, and they did one for the Suns after they got swept, and KD was just like standing there, like bobbing up and down like an NPC. And then at the end of the thing, he just goes, "I think I'm going to take my talents elsewhere."
Look, I wouldn't be surprised. There is a serious chat that needs to be had about his legacy. Maybe that's for another.
Oh yeah, his legacy's cooked. His legacy is cooked.
But just to tap on it, I've never counted those 2 rings. I may be controversial to say. Especially if you're in the media. I don't think a lot of the media want to say it, but nobody really counts those 2 rings that even though he had a good impact, nobody really counts those 2 rings he had with the Warriors. Everyone knew they were winning every year. There was no point in really playing. LeBron had Kyrie and Kevin Love, who just came back from 3-1 in the finals against the same team, and then you add Kevin Durant into that mix, and they got absolutely blitzed the next year in the finals. And you just saw it. You're like, there's no point. And he just went to the best team. And probably the best team in history. They won 73 games. He went to a 73-win team that just knocked him out of the playoffs the year before in the conference finals. I think it was the weakest move ever made, clearly. And Stephen A. was right when he said it the first time. I think it was a bad move for his legacy. Now, if he would have stayed at the Warriors instead of moving to Brooklyn, would he have more rings and would he be more well-known or more well-regarded, should I say? For sure. But I just don't think it was the right move initially, and he's made a ton of bad moves after that. The Brooklyn move was a disaster.
Well, he's gone. It's like he's carried on the theme of super teams, but it's just failed. It's not like he's gone back to OKC or a team that isn't already star-studded and built it back up or tried to be the man. Even though he's the best player on these teams, he's sort of just tried to repeat what he did in Golden State. Just it hasn't worked.
Yeah. Well, look, fair. I think that's fair, and Yeah, it's a bit dodgy talking about KD's legacy. But I do think it's sort of hindered, especially after recent years. Now, is there another team you want to sort of touch on in the playoff bracket that maybe got out or went through? Or
Well, I mean, we can touch on the East.
well, I know what you're not going to talk about. The Cavs Magic. There's no chance you're talking about any of those teams.
Well, no, it's going to 7, so
Oh, please.
that's 2 words in sport.
God.
Game 7.
Has there been a single one of those games that's actually been on TV?
I don't think.
Does anyone
so.
know?
No, I don't think.
Has
so.
anyone watched these games?
No, but there's 7 of them, so there you go. But yeah, I think the
Torturing
East
us.
in general has just brought up in my head that the conference system is shit because it's not fair that Cleveland or Orlando, a Randall-less New York and Indiana are through to the second round, while both LA teams, Phoenix, are just packing it up and going home. Even Golden State. Golden State, I think, would beat a lot of those teams in a playoff series.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's time that there's a conversation around restructuring it to where it's just like a lot of other
16
competitions, 16 teams, yeah. Because it is a massive advantage to be in the East right now in terms of getting to the finals.
Okay.
Like for Boston especially, I mean, fuck me. If they don't make the finals, everyone in that organization needs to be fired immediately.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I somewhat agree in terms of the competition, but I think it's hasty. And I think, look, I think that there are other teams and other organizations that have more problems. Like if you look at the NFL, it's solely based on division, essentially. You play your division twice, everyone in your division twice, and you've only got, 17 games in a season. So you're playing your division the majority of the season, and if you win your division, you're through. However, if you finish second in your division and you win if you win however many games, but the team that won its division will go through over you no matter what. So I think in sports it is a bit, especially American sports, it is more focused on the conference and division element of it. But look, I wouldn't be open. I'd be open to sort of switching it around, and I think the West Coast is maybe it's changed because of living situations and how players want to be on the West Coast, and free agency has changed since the conference system was set up, and players weren't moving teams, so it was it wasn't more like a player's choice where they were playing, and it was more based on where you were drafted. So I understand that. Just to harp on about the East, I think we would be remiss if New York wouldn't make the playoffs. Like if there was
No, they would probably make the playoffs, but look, it's a weak team that they're probably going to make the conference finals, either them or Indiana.
It's a great story, though.
It's a great
Playoffs
story.
Are about story. Like,
but
if we all wanted to just see the best 20 players in the playoffs every year, then the sport would be boring. I think the great thing about playoffs and the playoff system and the finals is that you get teams that probably shouldn't be there, but that overperform and have players that outperform what they're doing. And look, if they played better teams, like if the East teams played the West teams, they'd probably fare worse. But I think a market like New York, having them involved and having them win series is good for the NBA. So I can see both sides, but yeah. Personally, I'm enjoying watching the East more than I probably expected. And I was keyed into the Knicks Sixers series. It's a good series.
It was a good series.
Like, was I particularly keyed into, I mean, I watched the Timberwolves Suns series, but was I more interested in that than, or what about, I don't think I ever watched a game of the Pelicans Thunder series. Like, yeah, just because they're good teams doesn't mean you want to watch them. And they have the best players just doesn't mean that you want to watch them. So that's my perspective on it anyway. But yeah, I've enjoyed New York, and Jalen Brunson was terrific, and he's really emerging, and you've got other players in New York that are sort of role players traditionally, but they're emerging as well, so that's good to see.
Yeah, they've just basically remade their college team.
Well, yeah, Villanova.
Yeah.
They've got Jalen Brunson, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. It's quite interesting.
Very interesting.
I think Villanova's East Coast as well. I don't know where it is, but I think it's East Coast.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else to talk about in the NBA?
Not really. The next round matchup, is there any matchups that you're eyeing up and you're saying, "Ooh, that's good"? Or
Probably Dallas, OKC. Pretty keen for that, I feel like, because OKC, this will be a test for them. Obviously, they had a pretty easy first round. No Zion in the Pelicans, and the Mavericks are dangerous. I mean, obviously, Luka Doncic is an absolute weapon. There's no disputing that. And Kyrie been absolutely amazing. Second half of the season, especially after that shot he hit on PJ Tucker. Do you see that? That has to be the last game PJ Tucker plays in the NBA.
Well, that's how bad it got.
No way.
We started PJ Tucker in that game.
There is no way a team is down bad enough to sign that guy next year. That has to be it for him. But Kyrie's been absolutely amazing. So it'll be an interesting matchup. Obviously, the biggest stage Shea and all those boys have been on so far. It'll be tough. I mean, is Shet going to be up to it? The thing is, the Mavs don't really have a big dominant center. So they have a couple of good bigs like PJ and Gafford and Lively, but they're not like Jokic who's just going to cook Chet all day. So tough series. I'll probably lean to the Mavs though. I think Giddey also, even though Giddey's Australian, he's obviously had a tumultuous year, but he just looks a bit out of place on the floor at times.
Yeah, I haven't watched much of the Thunder this year. They've set an interesting vibe with the young guys they've got. I'd probably lean towards Dallas in this series just because of the experience that they have in playoffs in comparison to the Thunder. That now Dallas haven't won anything, but they've made a couple of good playoff. They've made one good playoff run to be fair to them, but they've been in the playoffs plenty of times with Luka especially. So, and this is the best team that Luka's ever had. So I think they've got a real shot to go through on this. Now it's all dependent on Shea as well. I think Shea's points, I mean, are they a bit bloated because he doesn't have another star per se next to him? I kind of think so. But we'll see in this series if he, does a Jalen Brunson and he, ups his play in the playoffs, or is he, gonna just put up mediocre performances? We'll see. But yeah, that's a good series to watch out for. Yeah,
I think so. Anything else?
Not really. I think, it's kind of disappointing for the Lakers and Clippers personally, but honestly, once we lost Game 5, was it? I knew we weren't. There was no chance we were going back to LA. There was zero shot at all that we were going back to LA. So I was kind of lost all hope, especially when Kawhi was not playing again. So yeah.
I
don't know what happens in the future for us, but it's
it's absolutely no chance of winning with that current group. There's the injuries, and they're not even a chance at this point. They're a guarantee. So,
but the problem is we have no other option. We traded all our picks away. So,
and you just re-signed Kawhi. So,
well, I don't hate that because we traded all of our picks away. So we might as well be mediocre and not just give the Thunder the first pick every year. I'd rather that, if I'm honest. So, I would want to re-sign Paul George.
Thunder have to be studied. Greatest rebuild of all time.
I don't know. I think it was a great rebuild. However, the aspects of their team that they traded away to get. I mean, the Paul George trade was historic in terms of the amount of picks they got, and I think the return that they got immediately on it was great. I mean, they got Jalen Williams they got and Shea from the trade, just from now they drafted Jalen Williams with that pick that they got that year, or the next year, I can't exactly remember. But they got Shea as well, who was just an absolute star. And look, he was, unreal with us as well in his rookie year. I felt like he was a future all-star player, but you have to trade him away. So, yeah, it's people sort of laugh at Clippers fans for that trade, and that it's bad. But at the time, would you make that trade? And look, it's not just for Paul George. At the time, it was to get Kawhi as well. At that time, would you do it again? Yeah.
I mean, they were championship favourites that year. So
they had Paul George, who was third in MVP voting that year. And then they had Kawhi Leonard, who just came off his, the creme de la creme of his career. He just won the finals MVP. He brought a championship to the Raptors. So, look, people laugh at us for that trade, but I guarantee you, and if you look back at the tweets that happened around that trade, they were saying, "Oh my god, the Clippers are a super team." So
Yeah.
you can hate on it, but yeah, it has put us back. But you know, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, well, there's nothing you can do, unfortunately.
I think the bubble hurt us more than anything. And I might have harped on about this before, but the switch, I mean, we were looking really good that year. You were looking good as well. And it was really set for a Lakers-Clippers conference finals matchup.
I know, we were robbed of ever getting it. And now
the bubble
is
it's COVID. We're gonna get it. It's COVID's fault. Because...
Well, yeah, apparently the whole Clippers team basically didn't want to be there. So well, you saw what happened.
Yeah. So they just were so colloquial about it all. They just, whatever. Whatever. If we lose, we lose. Who cares? So
yeah, and they lost. So
they lost, and we never got back to it because of injuries. So shame, real shame. It's just sad being a club. I just don't care anymore. Whatever. But yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Football. The Premier League is obviously about to wrap up.
The football, yes.
Did I see Liverpool lost or?
I don't know. I don't think they did lose. If I double check, now they're out the title race already. It doesn't really matter if I'm honest. There's no shot that they do anything. Anyway, so I wouldn't be shocked. Let me just double check. No, they've got a game against Spurs tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, they're way out.
So, but in terms of last night's game, the title race is heating up. You've got Arsenal, who won against Bournemouth. Now, that first goal that they scored, I watched a part of it. That first goal that they scored was absolute bullshit. That penalty was so, that is just absolute cheat job from Kai Havertz. But anyway, they win 3-0 in the end, so it doesn't really matter. City dominated with, I think they won 5-1.
Yeah.
I believe. So Haaland getting 4 goals as well, which was crazy. But it's in City's hands essentially, but it's so close because there's only a 1 point difference between them. So if
we've got Arsenal.
And we've got Arsenal, so we could make Arsenal lose. Now, that's the interesting thing is the matchups for me. So essentially the whole go is because Arsenal have a superior goal difference, if City just draw a game, there is so many, City have to be perfect in these games.
City have Spurs.
So that's what I'm saying, the matchup. So Arsenal have got Man United as a tough one to play. Arguably. I mean, we're not really that tough, but, Arsenal United. So we could easily, give City the title.
Would you rather City or Arsenal win?
I would rather City. Now, that's controversial to say, but I just can't stand Arsenal fans. They were when I was growing up, they were our rivals. Then with Chelsea. So when I was growing up, those were the ones we were competing with for titles with. So, sorry, but I just don't like Arsenal at all. And City just feel fake to me. It doesn't feel real. It feels like they're going to get brought up on these charges anytime soon. So, I mean, I don't like City winning it. I will clarify. I don't like them winning it, but they've won so much at this point. What's another trophy, kind of? So, yeah, I'd prefer that they win it over Arsenal because I wouldn't be able to go on Twitter for about 3 months. It'd just be Arsenal fans just harping on.
Just imagine Arsenal fan TV. They finally...
God, it would just be... it would be hilarious, but it'd be... Oh, no, but it wouldn't be. It'd be it's in their heads, it's all their delusion for all of these years has proven to be right. That's how they would think about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But they do have some of the better fans in terms of entertainment value. Arsenal.
They do. So... In terms of now, on the flip side, Man City, in terms of schedule, have got Spurs last game of the season. So Spurs could give Spurs, get a draw or they beat City, they give Arsenal the title. So that's the funny situation. Now, I have a mate that's a Spurs fan, and I asked him about this. What if Spurs won, scored a goal in the last minute?
I think they would honestly lose on purpose.
No, I don't. Well, you can't do that. I don't think they can. They're still fighting for Europa League. I don't know what they're fighting for, but whatever. I just imagine, could you imagine if they scored the game-winning goal or the game-tying goal in the 90th minute? Would there be any celebration in the crowd?
The fans would not celebrate.
Yeah, I can't picture that scenario as Like it's so intriguing to
It's
see.
literally the most well-known football chant is Arsenal saying, "What do we think of Tottenham?"
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm just trying to picture the stadium. Like, could you just imagine? I've never seen after a goal or like a try in rugby league or a touchdown in the NFL. I've never seen like a crowd not celebrate.
I think they might boo them if they
Like,
score.
yeah, could you imagine that? They like score like a game-winning goal and they get booed.
Yeah.
So yeah, Spurs could give the title to Arsenal on the final day, which would be interesting. They lost to Arsenal the other week, so that's their fault that Arsenal is still in this race. But yeah, it's heating up, and I'm hoping. I want drama, but I want Arsenal to lose in the end because it'd just be hilarious. I just want to see Arsenal fan TV after they lose. Because you'll get the fans, the always positive fans that are like, well, look, we had a good season, we were improving, we didn't win the title. We were out of the title race with 6 games to go last season. Now it's only 2 games to go, and
Ty will bring up just one random game and be like, well, it was raining that day.
Ryan Babel in 2006 dived, and that's causing the refs to be. It's like, all right, mate. So yeah, I'm really intrigued by the Premier League to the end of the season, but not in terms of Man United. I will clarify that there is zero interest in watching any Premier League Manchester United games from my perspective. Now, I will watch the FA Cup final. I don't know why I'll watch it, but I'll watch it just simply because I'm a Man United fan, and it's a chance to get Europa League. So, cool. Essentially, yeah, there's zero chance that I'm watching that. There is zero. Absolute flat. No, there's zero chance. I believe it's... I can't believe who we're playing. I can't remember, sorry, not believe.
In what?
In the Prem. I honestly haven't checked.
Newcastle?
No, Crystal Palace. Tuesday, 5 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, let's get up to watch that one.
No one's watching that.
No one is watching that. But yeah.
Any big... Is there any transfer rumours, any big movements happening in the...
No, well, the transfer window hasn't opened yet. Now, the main thing is, in terms of transfers with Man United, is a Sancho thing. Now, Dortmund are doing really well. Now, the Champions League semi-finals are also on, and Dortmund are up 1-0 against PSG. And Sancho played unreal in that game. And he's been playing really well for Dortmund recently. So, the talk's been Dortmund want him, obviously, on a permanent basis, but we loaned him out. So, he's still our player. So say, I don't think if Ten Hag stays, there's any chance that he stays. However, if Ten Hag gets sacked, do you want Sancho back? Now, I do think he's still a lazy trainer. Like, I don't think Ten Hag was lying about the things about Sancho. I just... There's too much to back up that he's kind of a lazy shit when he's not playing a game. Now, if you do that, go ahead, but you've got to be 10 out of 10 every game that you play. You've got to be performing well, but he wasn't for United. So I can see both sides. Now, apparently United want 50 mil for him to sell him. Now, will Dortmund pay that? Now, Royce is leaving Dortmund after this season, so...
Yeah, everyone's saying it would just be the greatest swan song if he wins the Champions League in his last ever game.
Well, that would be pretty good for him, especially after how...
Because I don't think he's ever won anything.
No, well, I don't think so.
And he was the one guy that stayed at Dortmund the whole time.
Well, I don't know if they've won a cup or like their domestic cup, but yeah. I know he lost the Champions League final to Bayern in harrowing fashion. If you remember that Robben goal at the end.
They made a couple of Champions League finals.
So they've made a couple of runs at the Champions League. They've done really well in European history, and that's why United bought Sancho originally, was because he performed for Dortmund in the Champions League. And if you perform in the Champions League historically, you're a good player, no matter what team or division or country you play in. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, I'm puzzled about what to do now. Obviously, Anthony isn't good, but we've got winger problems at the moment. I mean, Anthony's crap. Garnacho's young and makes mistakes, but I mean, he's been solid this season, I think. Rashford's crap. Diallo I like, but he doesn't get any game time. So we do have problems on the wing. So it's not like he wouldn't play for us, but it's just...
What about, is Elanga on loan? Or is he gone?
He's gone. He was transferred away. So I think the thing with Sancho is he doesn't really suit the Premier League as a whole in terms of how the Premier League is played. He's not really now, if he went to City, I think he'd thrive. But at Man United, when it was more counter-attack and you're trying to move the ball with pace and you're trying to, beat players and individuals. And now if you went to a Pep, where it's more in the system and players' ability to work in tight areas and quick passes within a confined area in the box and a system where he doesn't have to track that, Sancho would be great. I think Sancho would thrive at City, but at United, how we're currently set up, there's just no chance he does well. So if Ten Hag stays, I think we should easily sell him, especially to a Dortmund, which is out of the country, out of sight. That's fine. However, if Ten Hag gets sacked, I would be keen on seeing who we bring in as a manager and if Sancho would fit in that system, because he's no doubt a very, very good footballer. I mean, at 20 years old, he was viewed as one of the best wingers in the world. So, yeah, I'd love to have him back, but just because I like the transfer initially.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of hype initially. Everyone was saying he's going to be the next big thing. And he's a cool guy, so everyone, I like him at least. And
he's a cool guy?
Just from seeing things, interviews.
Okay. Well,
on-field play.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
He's a cool guy.
Okay.
He's a cool guy. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? So yeah, I think that's enough for football at the moment. Do you want to move on to the next topic of discussion?
Yeah. Exciting news in the early hours of today's morning. Sunday,
what happened?
Sunday, the 5th of May, 2024. You don't know what happened? Daniel Ricciardo finished 4th in the sprint race.
Well, didn't he qualify 4th as well?
He qualified 4th and finished 4th. Just absolutely phenomenal stuff.
Does that mean he's 4th in the actual race?
No. I think he's like 16th in the actual race.
Why?
Because that's where he qualified.
All right. So
nobody cares about that.
So in the actual race, he's not going to make any points.
Well, he could, but nobody cares about that. How many points is he on? Let's just establish this right now. Formula One ladder.
See, I think that's a bit silly. I think the sprint race should result, or the sprint qualifying should result in. I don't think you should be doing qualifying and the sprint race.
Still says 0 points. It's not updated.
It's not updated. He's got 3 points. What are you doing? How many points did he get? 4?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. 5 points.
Got 5 points.
Dude, that's impressive stuff. 5 points. If that doesn't put him in the box seat for the Red Bull seat, I don't know what does.
Look, maybe it's because he finished 16th in qualifying, maybe. But look, qualifying's overrated. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, but in all honesty, 4th place in the sprint is a really good performance. Because he beat a Ferrari on pace, he beat a McLaren, both the Mercedes, both the Aston Martins. Very, very good performance. I mean, obviously he was miles off the front three, and the other guys were right on his heels. He was just like blocking them the whole time.
Okay, gotcha.
But
so it's more racecraft.
Yeah. But it's still a really good performance. And something we needed to see, because obviously it was not looking good for Daniel.
It was not. You're right.
But he's, he does this. He does it like once a year, to be honest. He obviously did it with McLaren when he won the race in Monza. Lando Norris still never won a race in his career. I don't know how many podiums he's on now. It must be like 30 or 40. But Daniel Ricciardo did it in a McLaren. So there you go. They sacked the wrong guy.
Yeah, sure. Sure. No, I'm obviously a fan of Danny Rick, so it's good to see him doing better. Now it's a sprint race, not the actual race. So is this going to result in him ever? I swear we have this conversation every week. We were like, is Danny Rick going to get the Red Bull seat? No.
It's all anyone cares about in F1.
Now, could he put up the points that, Perez is doing? Sure, I believe that. But are they going to really switch out a driver to get the same performance?
I think they would, because they don't like Perez. But apparently there's also...
Well, it's not like the manager's a saint, is he? It's not like he's the judgment of everything good.
I guess, no.
Mr.
Well,
Horner.
allegedly, but...
Allegedly. Yeah, sure.
But, what's it called? Oh, yeah, so Audi are coming in next year. they're joining. Apparently, they offered Signs a mega deal that he's rejected.
Really?
Yeah. Because he wants Red Bull or Mercedes.
What Mercedes? What I mean, surely Audi's coming in with guns. I mean, maybe that's just my opinion on the Audi car as a general.
Yeah.
But surely they'd be coming in guns blazing with. I mean, it might take a bit of time, but surely they'd be doing something. I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Mercedes are in the pits right now.
Yeah.
I know they got funding, but God, their car's terrible. They can barely go sixth. I mean, Jesus, what's he doing?
I don't know.
How much? Do you know the amount of money on this mega deal?
I don't know the money. No.
Well, Signs, I don't know what you're doing, lad. I don't know who you think you are, but
no. Well, I mean, obviously the Red Bull seat is what everyone wants.
The main one. Yeah. Look, is he better than Perez? Sure. Now, will they pivot from Perez to Signs? I think they'd like to go with someone younger, probably. No,
He's not old.
He's not old, but he's not a spring chicken. I think they'd want to sort of have someone to develop and bring someone in because they know their car's a rocket ship and whoever is in it will finish second. So it's more of we'd rather develop someone maybe they've got in the junior ranks or
like Yuki.
No, I don't think Yuki, but someone else. But yeah, I don't think they'd go. I think they might, but I'd be shocked if they pivoted from Perez to Sainz. Now, is Perez offered contract at the end of the year?
Yeah.
Is there any sort of talks around a contract extension or?
No, well, that's the whole thing. That's why there's all these rumours. Because, I mean, if they really wanted to keep him, they probably would have re-signed him by now. So, I think what they're going to do is wait till the year is done. They're just going to give him the chance to show something. Maybe beat Verstappen just one time. Just one time, maybe beat him. If not, I think they'll just see how everyone else goes this year and just give it to whoever performs the best. Because whoever they give it to is going to accept it. So,
well, yeah, every driver would break his contract immediately to go to Red Bull. So, yeah, I'm not too sure who they'd go for, but I'd be quite interested to see. Now, it's definitely not Danny Rick, but it'd be someone.
Well, you never know if he keeps pulling out.
Carlos Sainz is available or Danny Rick's available. Who you signing?
Well, if it's me personally, Danny Rick.
Okay, but if you're looking to win races,
yeah. Well, Carlos Sainz is the only non-Red Bull driver to win a race in the past 12 months. So
there you go.
You gotta
got your answer. So yeah, moving on
from F1. What else? A little bit of NRL. NRL season obviously going on at the moment. Oh, we should actually talk about our mate with from 360.
Oh, brother, we can't touch on that.
Why?
That's just you don't want to. I mean, we've met him before. Great guy. Not really, but yeah, let's not have about it.
We can talk about it. Everyone talks about it.
No. Look, I like 360. Bold opinion. I like 360 with Graham on there. I think he's.
I think it's a lot better than Gordon Tallis.
Oh, mate, anything's better than fucking Gordon Tallis. Jeez. But no, I think Graham's. I think he's well articulate. He's played the game, so he knows the feel of it. No, I think he says brash things sometimes, but I think that's what makes 360 a good show. And yeah, I think it'd be a good addition. And I think it's a matter of time before they sort of probably make it permanent with.
It's got to be wraps on that dude's career. But I saw a funny comment someone left that he's going to be starting his own show now, obviously, because he's probably long odds to get back on TV at this point. But and it's going to be called NRL 360.
God, did you come prepared? That was like
no, I said I saw it. Someone commented it.
Look, wouldn't be. It'd get ratings, I think, for the first episode, and then it'd probably get not too much, but yeah, 360. It's got nothing on the Matty John show anyway. So,
well, it kind of does in terms of football content.
Yeah, you find out the most majority. Well, that's what you like about 360, and that's why I watch it. Is because you find out like the news, like
the scoops
for the NBA or Premier League or NFL. It's on your phone. Like they've journalists that post it all the time. Now they do have journalists that post it about
Well, they're
NRL,
just all
but-
so old in Australia. Like Buzz Rothfield doesn't even know how to do that.
I think he actually does have a Twitter account.
Yeah, he does.
Isn't it the Sharks Premiership ring?
Yeah, I keep thinking it's an Autobots logo or something.
Yeah, it kind of does look like that. I did see a comment about Butts because Buzz, what did he criticize? Oh, I can't remember, but he criticized something, and the first comment was like, "Oh, I didn't see you criticizing the doping by the Sharks in 07, 08." It's like, all right, good stuff, but
he gets on there. He's jittering around because he's so old on 360 when he's sitting up on the desk. It's like,
but he's good though.
but yeah, he's good, and he's like, just let me talk, Brave. And he gets his point out eventually after 5 attempts.
What a guy!
And it's actually not a terrible point
No,
a lot of the time, but they always just shut him down and roast the shit out of him for some reason. Anyway, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff sometimes. 360, even though it obviously gets its haters for good reason as well. A lot of those were for Paul Kent. But hey, he's he's gone. I'll just say, like, at 56 years old, like, you can't be doing that sort of stuff, mate.
Well, look, each to their own, but I don't know how you get that.
And to be
blind.
someone who's like he commentates boxing, he's seen as a bit of a boxing analyst as well. Just that was abysmal.
I don't think he could see properly, so it's not his fault really. But
yes,
yeah, it's quite, the way he fell on the tree is funny. But yeah, interesting stuff. Now in terms of the performances in the NRL, some good ones over the weekend so far. I think, the Penny Panthers are looking okay.
They are looking okay.
Now,
was that ever in doubt though?
I don't think it was really.
No.
I think next year. I feel like we say this every year, but next year you're gonna feel it. But yeah, I think it's just a matter of next man up mentality. You know, reminds you of the Warriors.
The Warriors
in basketball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, calm down. Kind of reminds you of the Warriors in terms of that next man up mentality, where everyone has a role and everyone's, they've got great depth. And you saw Cleary was out, and you were thinking, oh, could South with a new coach sort of be a bit of a surprise? The new coach bounce, but no. Initially, yes, but I think Penrith just showed that their main strength outside of their talent is their fitness. I mean, the fittest team in the comp by a country mile. I don't know how they do it, but the way that they just grind down opponents, they just never run out of gas. And that's how they win. If you want to know the Penrith way, it's simply because they are fitter than everyone else. And they're rushing up in the line every time. They suffocate you. And you essentially have no chance, or you have limited chances to score because they don't make mistakes either.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good strategy. Obviously, it's won 3 years in a row, 4 grand finals in a row.
It's a good strategy, but you've somehow got to put it into practice. Like, you've got to have players that are willing and able to put in that work.
And that's why those players are obviously they're all from, a lot of them are from Mount Druitt, that sort of area. So they come up as hard workers. They have no ego. They're ready to put the team first.
I'd say they've got a bit of ego, but
or maybe they've developed it. But they're selfless in terms of performance for the team. They're happy to just do their role, do their thing, and get the job done. On the other hand, for example, in that game, South. I mean, talk about not wanting to do the team thing. I mean, those guys do not know what's going on there. Obviously, they sacked Demetrio that week, probably a month too late. I think he lost the locker room ages ago, to be honest. But obviously the player power there is the big talking point, that Latrell and Cody and all these guys were given too much power to do what they want. I think it is probably a bit true. The Latrell stuff especially, it's just been not a great year for him on field. I mean, he hasn't been playing well when he's been playing, and obviously he's suspended all the time. So Souths are screwed. Cam Murray he's injured for 8 weeks now. So, like, wooden spoon, and most people had them in the 8 at the start of the year. A lot of people even had them in the 4, and they're probably going to win the spoon now. So, good year for them. I mean, I can't say I don't like it. I love to see South suck because I hate them. But
that's harsh. Well, look, in that game, they started really well, but I just felt like I said, the fitness levels in the two teams was easily seen. I mean, it was shown with the drop when they kicked the ball dead, and Penrith basically got there off the tap because they were fitter and South weren't at that time. I think South went out of the gates a bit too hard for their current fitness levels.
Yeah, but you're an NRL team. You should be
I know,
fit enough
but
to get through 80 minutes.
I'm not. I don't think it's the South have now. South, I don't think are the fittest team at the moment, but I think any team against Penrith, if they go out the gates too hard, they fall away later in the game, and Penrith's strength just shines through, and they've got great finishes, and the teams make mistakes. They get backed up on penalties, and Penrith have all the ball down your end, and that's how the game ends up. So I don't think it was necessarily South's fault that they that they lost the game in the way that they did. I just felt like Penrith just showed their superiority in terms of fitness. Now, you could say a team that compares maybe Melbourne, and look, in terms of fitness levels, and look where Melbourne are. So I think, it really shows that the fittest teams in the NRL are the elite ones, and that just was highlighted on that game on Thursday night.
Yeah, so the elite teams that they're started to show, it's going to be Melbourne, Penrith,
Roosters.
Roosters if they can stay consistent.
Have we got the highest points difference in the?
I don't know. Maybe. And the guys you just beat, Brisbane, obviously, big news for them. Reynolds, torn bicep. No one knows how long exactly he's going to be out for. Could potentially season ending. Probably at least 12 months. 12 weeks.
Though. It is sad.
It's sad, but it's also like, what are you expecting? It's if you've ever seen an example of someone playing past when they're actually able to play, it's Adam Reynolds, unfortunately. And they've re-signed him for next year already.
But he can still play, though.
Yeah, but it's always like that.
I get it.
You can still kick a ball at 50 years of age.
His
You can
body
still pass a ball.
is falling away. You can see that clearly. But when he plays, they're such a good team. Like, if I'm Brisbane, you've got to extend him. And it's kind of like we were talking about with the Kawhi with the Clippers. Like, what's your alternative? Jock Madden? Is that your alternative? Because you don't really have the money to go out, and no real premier half is available anyway of Reynolds' quality. So it's more of like hope and pray that he's healthy by finals time, and he probably will be. I think the report is that he's coming back probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks before finals. So the hope is that he's healthy for finals.
I wouldn't play him a single game before finals because this season he hasn't finished a game without getting injured. So
yeah, that's you see him every game. He's got something.
It's just his body literally cannot handle it anymore. But he just doesn't want to retire. So because he obviously still is good when he's on the field, but it's just his body literally cannot do it anymore. So it's kind of sad, but also you're asking for it.
But yeah, I still think Brisbane will make the 8. I think they'll be 7-8 territory, but I think they'll definitely
7-8. That low?
Yeah,
really?
I mean, they've lost Jesse Arthurs for 8 weeks.
Yeah, they got Corey Oates.
I think he'll be 6, 7, 8 territory for sure. You look at the teams ahead of them. Are they going to be above the Roosters, Storm, Penrith? Are they going to be above those guys?
But I think Sharks will drop. Dolphins will drop. I think they could still. I think they'll still win most of their games.
Yeah, I think they've got the talent to do it. It's just without Reynolds, they look a lot different. So we'll see.
They got Tristan Saylor. He could potentially play in the halves.
I think they'd probably prefer him at 1, and then I'd prefer to put him at 1 than Reece in the halves. But
Kevy said he doesn't want to do that. So
interesting. Anyway,
can't coach.
Now, to tip it off, finally, you want to talk about the UFC?
UFC
301.
301. Well, it's on right now. 301. The Aussie guy is fighting for the title.
Who's that?
Steve Erceg.
What title's that?
The flyweight title.
Least important title.
Yeah, it's probably the worst pay-per-view in recent history. The main event is obviously Pantoja versus Erceg.
Obviously, yeah.
The co-main, Jose Aldo out of retirement versus a nobody.
Why is he out of retirement? Didn't he have a whole UFC Hall of Fame thing where he was crying and he was doing this dance and
maybe, yeah. I think so.
See, if you're gonna do The Tom Brady, like if I don't know if you know up to date on the Tom Brady, like Tom Brady.
Is he coming back?
No, but like when he retired, it's kind of, and he retired the first time and then came back.
Mm.
And when he did it, he's kind of just put out a statement on social media, like, "Hey, I'm retiring. It's the end. Bye." Like if you do that, I think you have every right to come back. But if you're like retiring, doing this big speech, then go to a Hall of Fame, and then just start crying and say how much it meant to you, and then you come back, it's kind of like, come on, you're taking a bit too far. You've already said goodbye. And it's not like Jose Aldo's winning anything anytime soon in terms of a title. So I don't know what he's doing. And now I'm sure he loves to fight.
Well, it's because it's in Rio.
Is he just coming back from a one-time thing, or is
it potentially, yeah.
Okay.
If he wins, I'm sure he'll probably have a go at it, but yeah.
You can't just do a whole hoopla about your retirement and then just come back. You just can't do it.
Yeah. Well, he's done it. And honestly, he's the main draw of the whole fucking pay-per-view. So
power to him.
Yeah. The rest of the card, who we got? Anthony Smith versus Vita Petrino, Michelle Pereira versus Ihor Potiera, and Paul Craig versus Kai Borrelio. So, yeah, the worst card of the year for sure in terms of pay-per-view quality. So, I mean, hopefully the Aussie can get it done. That would be nice to see. The third ever Australian-born, or not born, but Australian UFC champion. Would be cool to see. Is he lucky to be in this position? Yes. I think he's only had 3 fights in the UFC. I think he was ranked 9 or something, and he's got the title fight. So we'll see. I honestly don't even know if he's good or not, but hopefully he can win. Have you seen any interviews from him?
No. The only thing that I've seen from this, and the biggest story, is the guy that missed weight.
Oh, the guy like frail,
like the guy that was 5 pounds underweight. That was,
and he nearly died on the scale.
I nearly died. What is he doing? What is that guy do? Does he know math? Does he know, like...
They must not have weighed him. They were just like...
just go for it.
Stay in the sauna, mate.
Mate, just go till you're dead, mate. That's how we judge it. And he's like, what? I weigh enough right now. And he's like, no. In the sauna. Get in there.
Well, anyway, he's... I don't know if they'll let him fight.
Surely you can't fight.
I wonder, he's probably fought by now if they did let him fight.
Surely he couldn't have fought.
I think his name was Gomes. Yeah, it's cancelled.
Yeah. God.
Yeah.
You just can't. He looked so bad. I thought the UFC got rid of all that cutting.
No.
Not cutting in general, but like they put parameters in place where you couldn't cut like unbelievably hard.
Not really. There's for example, if you take a fight on short notice, and like for example, Max Holloway against Khabib, that was booked on a week's notice, like 5 years ago or something, and Max was 30 pounds overweight the week of, so they were like, no, you can't do that. But if you've got 8 weeks notice to lose the weight properly and do all that, then they won't say no. Like, mate, they should not have let Alex Pereira fight at middleweight, but he did. Paulo Costa as well, even. So there's no really regulations on it.
Yeah, and it's quite. Yeah, I don't like it. It's a bit bizarre. I think it also gives an advantage as well to those bigger guys. Now the weight cutting is horrendous, but you look at Conor when he was fighting featherweights. I mean, he was massive compared to them, absolutely massive. So yeah, I think it's more of a stain on it. I don't like it personally, so hopefully there are some parameters introduced so you avoid situations like this guy where he's just fucking dying on there for no reason. Like
for like his 6K paycheck.
It's bizarre.
Well, he's not even getting paid now. He didn't fight, so
yeah, I don't know who his trainer is or whatever, but that's a mistake beyond anything. You can't fucking tell a guy to cut 5 pounds less than what he actually. That's criminal. So yeah. Not an interesting card, but some interesting stories popping up here or there.
Yeah. I don't know what else is.
Is there a big card coming? I mean, obviously you hear about the Conor, but that's June.
The next card is Islam Dustin, and Costa Strickland is the co-main. So that's a decent card. I don't think there's anything really that good in between the pay-per-views. Yeah, we got Derek Lewis fighting a nobody, Barboza fighting a nobody, and then Islam.
So obviously Islam is fighting. Dustin Poirier is fighting Islam for the title, right?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. So Dustin gets a title shot. That's quite interesting. Now, do you give Dustin a chance in that fight, or
Look, the smart money would say no, considering Khabib destroyed him.
Money?
Oliveira destroyed him.
Yeah.
You've got you just can't. You can't pick Dustin. You can't.
Okay.
Well, I guess you can, but
Strickland Costa, are you same boat?
Strickland Costa, no, that one I could see Costa winning.
Oh yeah, I could see Costa winning. I thought it'd be more Costa that you'd favour.
Really? Even though Strickland just was champion and Costa just lost to Whittaker.
Yeah, but if Whittaker fights Strickland, I think Whittaker wins. I think Strickland's very, very good on the feet, but I think I don't know how he beat Adesanya, but Adesanya was shocking. It was more I thought he was great, but I thought Adesanya was terrible as well. So, and he lost his next fight after that. So, I don't know. I rate Strickland, but I still think he's got major holes in his game. So I wouldn't be surprised if Costa significantly beats him.
Well, I think Strickland would be the favourite for most people. He obviously he's really good striking D. That's his main thing. He kind of does the
shoulder,
UFC version of a Philly shell. So that's what he's good at. But Costa is a guy that can walk through literally anything. His chin is granite. So I think he'll be able to do that to get on the inside of Strickland. And Strickland's chin is I don't know if it is suspect, but because Pereira knocked him out with one shot. But other than that, I don't think he's really been hurt too many times. So maybe he does have a good chin. And Pereira's obviously just got godly power. So, but it's a good fight. It should be a good fight. Neither of them are going to wrestle. So that's all you can ask for these days is a good scrap.
Good scrap. Anyways, thanks for listening today. Hope you enjoyed, and like, subscribe, and do you have anything to kick us off with? Or send us off with, sorry.
Nope. That's all, folks.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.